So over the long term, what are the key takeaways from the forum, and what does it mean for investors?
Yeah. Well, to put it very briefly, the world is fragmenting. There are widening geopolitical fractures out there. So we're clearly moving from a unipolar world dominated by the US as the sole superpower to something of a multipolar world. What this means is that, first of all, there is elevated recession risk, not only because central banks are in motion, but also because there's a higher risk of geopolitical shocks from all kinds of directions in this environment. I would maybe highlight 5 macroeconomic consequences just very briefly. The first one is higher spending by governments and corporate on all these areas: defense, health, energy security, food security, supply chains, and so on, could support aggregate demand. However, a lot of that spending is not typically very productivity enhancing, right? So it may divert from other activities that might increase productivity more, from other investments. Second point, all of this creates some inflationary tailwinds. For example, making the supply chain more resilient means you're increasing the costs of your inputs. And so we get some underlying inflationary pressures from this creeping deglobalization that we are seeing. Thirdly, as a consequence of the higher inflationary pressures, this really creates a dilemma for central banks. So there's much more of a tougher choice that they have to make between fighting inflation on the one hand and supporting growth on the other. Fourth, central banks will probably not come riding to the rescue as fast and furious as they have in the past, which means that there is a higher probability of default cycles and of credit events than there has been in the past. And then fifth and last consequence is financial deglobalization. So I think we'll see more fragmented capital markets. There may be less capital flowing from developed markets into certain emerging markets, and vice versa. Certain emerging market investors may be more reluctant to put their money into the US or European markets, given the experience of Russia with very tough sanctions, even on the central bank's assets.
Great. Thank you, Joachim. So to summarize, this search for resilience comes at the expense of near-term efficiency. And central banks and governments are probably unlikely to come to the rescue as they have in the past. Fixed income will play a big role, and for our part, we look to build resilience into portfolios we manage on behalf of clients and seek to benefit during periods of market volatility through active management.